They let go before it gets heavy. They don't wait until the weight breaks them. People thriving in 2025 are not addicted to endurance. They don't wear emotional bruises like badges. They've learned the art of early release. Before the conversation gets toxic, they exit. Before the friendship drains more than it nourishes, they drift. Before the job eats away their peace, they question the cost. This isn't avoidance, it's awareness. They don't push themselves to stick it out just because they started. They don't let guilt override their inner yes or no. They've unlearned the idea that loyalty means self-sacrifice. They know that when something starts to feel heavier than it should, it's often a signal that it's no longer aligned. And in this new frequency, heaviness isn't a test, it's a cue to soften your grip. A cue to walk away not as a failure, but as a sacred act of choosing light. All right, let's dive in. We'd love it if you could subscribe, like, and leave a comment. They choose alignment over approval. They used to crave applause, validation, being liked. But now they want something deeper: peace. People thriving in this new energy don't shapeshift to fit expectations. They don't dilute their truth to avoid discomfort. They've stopped trading authenticity for acceptance. They ask, does this feel like me? Does this keep me aligned even if it costs me approval? They know that alignment sometimes disappoints others, that saying no might come with silence, that choosing peace might look like rebellion, but they've made peace with being misunderstood. They know this shift, the age of Aquarius, is not about being palatable. It's about being true. And nothing magnetizes the right people, opportunities, and timelines faster than a person who refuses to betray themselves for applause. They don't chase, they magnetize. People who thrive in 2025 don't hustle in desperation. It responds to frequency. They trust that when they become the energy of what they desire, it can't help but find them. So while others exhaust themselves in pursuit, they sit in their power. And the right things, aligned things, show up without the need for convincing. That's not magic, that's resonance. They speak in frequencies, not just words. They understand that words are just the surface, that beneath every sentence is a signal. And in 2025, it's not just what you say, it's how you feel when you say it. People thriving now don't try to talk positive while feeling depleted. They don't sugarcoat resentment. They don't hide fear behind affirmations. Instead, they calibrate their energy before they communicate. They pause before responding. They breathe before explaining. They feel their truth before expressing it. Because they know words spoken from misalignment muddy the connection. But words spoken from clarity? They resonate. They no longer use language to perform. They use it to transmit. Every conversation becomes a frequency exchange. Every yes vibrates with full body alignment. Every no lands like grounded truth, not defensiveness. They don't just talk. They tune in. They rest without guilt, even when the world doesn't. While the world spins faster, they slow down. Not because they're lazy, because they're in tune. They don't wait for burnout to justify taking a break. They don't need a doctor's note or a dramatic collapse to finally rest. They rest because they're alive. They rest because their energy is sacred. They rest because they know that restoration isn't optional, it's essential. Even when emails pile up, even when people expect them to always be on, even when the culture says you're not doing enough, they rest anyway. And here's the radical truth they embody. Rest is not a pause from productivity. It's a portal to clarity. When they rest, they reconnect with intuition. When they rest, they remember they are not machines. And when they rest, they send a quiet but powerful message to the universe. I trust that I don't have to earn my existence. They trust the pause as much as the push. They've learned that not everything moves through momentum. Some of the most powerful shifts happen in the stillness, in the waiting, in the void. They no longer panic when things slow down. They no longer fill every silence just to feel in control. They no longer see a pause as a problem. Instead, they ask, what is this stillness preparing me for? Because they understand that energy has seasons. That winter isn't wasted. That even caterpillars don't transform mid-flight. They cocoon. The pause isn't punishment. It's preparation. It's where integration happens, where ideas ripen, where the soul exhales, so they trust the timing. They don't force the flower to bloom faster. They just stay close, water it gently, and let the pause do what pressure never could. They say no without needing a reason. They used to explain, to soften their no with 20 paragraphs of backstory. to make sure they were still liked after declining. But now, they just say it. No. No to plans that drain. No to people who expect access without intimacy. No to roles they've outgrown. And they say it without flinching, without guilt, without apology, because they've realized that no is a complete sentence. And that over-explaining is often just self-abandonment. Dressed up as politeness, they trust that their boundaries don't require permission. They know that every no creates space for an authentic yes. And perhaps most powerfully, they don't say no to hurt others. They say no to honor themselves. They release the timeline and stay in the flow. They used to measure progress by dates and deadlines, by where they should be by now, by how others moved through life. But in 2025, that energy feels too tight. So they release the old timeline, the one built on pressure, comparison, and scarcity. They don't rush the becoming. They don't panic at detours. They don't obsess over milestones that don't match their current soul frequency. Instead, they drop into the flow. They follow the energy. They listen to their body. They move when it feels right, not just when it looks logical. And ironically, by letting go of the timeline, they get there faster, because they're no longer fighting the current. They've stopped asking when and started trusting now. They prioritize energy over efficiency. They used to chase efficiency like a badge of honor. How fast can I finish this? How much can I squeeze into today? But now they ask better questions. How does this feel? Is this draining or nourishing? Am I forcing or flowing? They no longer worship busyness. They no longer treat exhaustion as proof of commitment. They know that if it costs their peace, it's too expensive no matter how efficient it looks on paper. People thriving in this shift track energy the way others track time. They follow the internal clock, not the societal one. They build their day around capacity, not expectation. And as it turns out, the less they force, the more they actually get done, with joy, clarity, and room to breathe. Because when you protect your energy, everything else starts working with you, not against you. They allow joy without demanding a justification. They no longer wait for joy to be deserved. They don't treat happiness like a prize at the end of productivity. They let joy arrive early. They dance before the goal is reached. They laugh in the middle of the unknown. They smile just because something felt good, not because it was useful. They don't ask, is this practical? Is this productive? Is this worth the time? They ask, does this make me feel more alive? Joy isn't a distraction, it's data. It tells you when you're in alignment. It reminds you that being alive isn't a task to manage, it's an experience to feel. So they follow what lights them up, even if it makes no sense on paper. Because they've stopped asking joy to explain itself and started letting it lead. They feel before they fix. Old world wisdom said fix it fast. Solve the problem. Don't get emotional. But the ones thriving now? They do the opposite. They pause. They feel. They let the emotions speak before they make a move. They know that most bad decisions aren't made from sadness. They're made from rushing away from sadness. They don't fear discomfort. They sit with it. They breathe into it. They ask, what's this really about? Because they've learned, if you skip the feeling, the pattern repeats. But if you honor it, the energy moves. Feeling isn't weakness. It's intelligence. It's what gives healing its direction and clarity its edge. So now they don't react. They respond. And their lives shift not because they fix everything, but because they finally feel what's true. They know lightness is a skill, not a mood. They don't wait to feel light. They practice it. Because lightness isn't a random emotion that shows up when life is kind. It's a choice, a craft, a frequency they return to again and again. They've learned that being light doesn't mean avoiding depth. It means not getting trapped in heaviness. They feel grief, but they don't become it. They face challenges, but they don't build homes in suffering. Lightness for them is not denial. It's mastery. It's the ability to hold space for what's hard, without letting it take over everything else. They don't fake positivity. They generate peace. And some days, that means laughing while everything is still uncertain. Other days, it means simply letting go of what's not theirs to carry. But always, it means remembering you can be deep and still stay light. Before we end, I have one request for you. In the comments, write down the version of your ideal self you want to become. There's a saying, when you give your dreams words, they start becoming real. And when you write them as if they've already come true, the universe listens even more powerfully. So go ahead, leave a comment about your dream life. written in the past tense, as if it already happened. The universe is always ready to hear your desires and bring them into form. Let your words flow into the comment section and send your vision out into the universe. And don't forget, when you see someone else's dreams, celebrate it. By lifting each other up, the energy multiplies. From the bottom of my heart, I'm wishing for all your dreams to come true. Thank you so much for watching till the end. If you felt something today, please subscribe, give a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. I started this channel from Japan, hoping to help people around the world live better lives. My English might be a bit rough, but I hope you'll stay with me on this journey. This channel shares videos that help you understand how to live in the age of air just by listening. Subscribe so the next message finds you automatically. Thank you.